Hi everybody, Father Mike here. This is our 5th installment, I believe, on Eucharistic Adoration. And this time we just kind of want to hear some stories from different parishioners about what adoration means to them, and especially those who have been in the practice of it for quite some time. You know, we have a chapel here that is coming, and we also at this time we have adoration every day. And so some days there's as many as 10, 15 people here in the noon hour, and Mondays we have adoration offered 3 times. And so adoration is certainly no stranger to this parish. So a lot of our parishioners have experiences from those times, and then a lot of them from chapels that were at parishes that they belonged to before here. I guess I just want to start with a miracle or two that I've received. I remember when I was a seminarian, and I think I was probably 25 at the time, and they put me in Guatemala for the summer to learn Spanish. I knew no Spanish before I showed up, and I went there all by myself and the Lord. And I remember showing up to Guatemala, landing in the airport, which dumped you out underneath a bridge. My ride wasn't there. It was a total disaster. And I didn't know any Spanish. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. I didn't know anything. Finally, I ended up not too far from where I was supposed to be. And I remember it was pouring down rain, and I was lost, and I found an adoration chapel. And I remember going in there and seeing Jesus in that monstrance. And I got down on my knees, and I can't explain to you how my worries just kind of all evaporated, all in one moment, in a second. And I just felt, you know what? Jesus is here. I'm going to be okay. And I prayed, and I left the chapel, and the sun was out. And the most wonderful bilingual man was there, and he must have seen that I looked a little lost, and he said, "Can I help you?" And long story short, Jesus answered all my prayers, and that was the best summer of my entire life. Another time I went to Medjugorje, and I was there, and I was praying in the chapel in front of the Blessed Sacrament, Jesus. And for whatever reason, this was only 2 years ago, for whatever reason, somebody popped into my mind that I had not thought about for a long time. Her name is Jennifer. I came to know her when I was a student at IU. Well, 10 years went by. I hadn't seen her a single time in 10 years. Hadn't really prayed for her a whole lot because she just hadn't crossed my mind. Well, for whatever reason, her name, her face just came in my heart, and I was praying for her. I kid you not. I leave the chapel, and I turn the corner, and I literally bump into her. It was the most unbelievable thing, and I figured that Jesus probably had a good reason to make that all happen. Miracles happen all the time. As your pastor, I pray every morning in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and I give my day to Jesus, and I just know that without him, I wouldn't be able to give anything to you, to the parishioners. And so anyway, adoration, beautiful thing, amazing things happen, miracles happen, daily miracles, but sometimes big ones, healings. You're going to hear from different parishioners now, and I've already talked too long. God bless you.
I'm Karen Martin, and I'm from St. Joe's Catholic Church in Shelbyville, Indiana. And I want to tell you a little bit about why I love adoration and why I just love spending time with God alone. Because there's been many times in my life, which I'm sure with yours, is that, you just get so busy, or sometimes things get bigger than you, and you think, I can't handle one more thing. But when you give it to God, it becomes smaller than you. It becomes smaller because God's there to support you. And so adoration does those things. Adoration has also, to me, given me many miracles in my life. I've had several times. I had one time when I had a great nephew at the age of 8 that was passing away. And I was in adoration with God. And God says, whether it was God or an angel, I'm not sure, but he said, you know, you need to tell his parents to sing as if they're a child. And I'm like, sing as if they're a child, their son's dying. But I kind of argued with God because, you know, sometimes I do that. My husband always said that, you know, you'd even argue with Jesus Christ. Well, it's probably true. But anyway, I really feel that God came through and gave me the support I needed to talk to those parents and say, God wants you to sing as if you were a child. Your son is in a heavenly place. And you know, they came forward to God from that experience. I also had several friends that were going to not live much longer. Both of them had heart conditions and they needed new hearts, and it was going to be a miracle if even they got connected with a heart that was the same as theirs. And both of those friends, through adoration and through prayer with God, He delivered them. It wasn't even 2 weeks or 3 weeks for one of them, a new heart. And both of them are living examples of what a miracle is through adoration. And then the last is most dear to my heart. When I see Mary go through the suffering that she went through with Jesus Christ on the cross when he was dying. My son, he accidentally shot himself, and I didn't think he was going to live, and if he did live, he was going to live without a leg and definitely without a finger. Well, I prayed all night during that surgery, which was supposed to take 4 hours and took like 7 or 8 hours. And he came through, and not only did he lost a pinky finger, but he didn't lose his leg and he didn't lose his life. And I owe that to God. And I owe that to adoration. So that's why it's near and dear to me. But even the simplest things like everyday life, God's there for you if you give him an hour of your time.
Hi, my name is Rita Roush. I have had the privilege of attending praying in the Adoration Chapel since about 1989. I have had many, many blessings during that time in the Adoration Chapel. But one of my favorite blessings happened on Christmas Eve. My husband had died 1 year prior in October, and I was very depressed going into the Christmas season. I did the hour of adoration in the chapel before midnight mass. And as I was in the chapel and I was gazing on the nativity scene that was down at the foot of the altar, suddenly my hour was over in what seemed like less than 5 minutes. I was taken somewhere else by the Lord. And when I came out of there, I had such joy in my heart. My depression and grief had been lifted from me. And I walked out of the chapel a completely different person. And that was a huge gift that the Lord gave to me so that I could celebrate Christmas with my family, my grandchildren, and not be so depressed as I was before. I've had many, many blessings since then, but that story is my favorite.
I'm Fran Keechie, and I just wanted to share with you what adoration means to me. I've been doing it for a number of years, and I've worked in daycare as a teacher, preschool teacher, for 25 years. And I was a closer, and so I would close the daycare, lock it up, and run to the Adoration Chapel every night. The maintenance man said, bring your dinner if you want. I'll lock you in, Fran. You can stay as long as you want, which was great because it was just so homey. It feels like home to me. And I would come with all the worries of the day about all the kids and all the stresses. And I just kneel there and I just adore Jesus for being there for me and for loving me and loving the children I look after and the parents and the families. And inevitably, I would go out so calm, and I would just feel like I'd go out singing actually to the car, and I would be singing hymns. And I had this feeling always that water was like pouring over me. I'd sit real close to the tabernacle, and I'd pull up a chair And there was nobody disturbing me, and nobody. It was just me and Jesus, and I really felt like there was water rushing over me. I felt like I had just taken a shower. I had been totally cleansed, and so relieved. And next day, come back again, and it was just such a secure place. It was warm and inviting and beautiful, and probably the greatest place I could be on earth.